In the quiet countryside of Oxfordshire stands a palace, built not for kings, but for conquest. A reward for a single victory and a monument to one man's determination to make it eternal. This is Blenheim Palace, where history wasn't written, but constructed.
It's hard to believe this was ever someone's home. Blenheim was built after a war, gifted to a general who defeated a European empire. But this place is more than just gratitude. Its ambition turned into architecture, a victory so monumental they built it in stone. When John Churchill, the first Duke of Marlborough, won the Battle of Blenheim in 1704, Queen Anne gave him this land as a national reward. What he built wasn't a house, it was a statement, a palace meant to last longer than memory itself.
The architect, Sir John Vanbrugh, had never designed a home before, only theatres, and that's exactly how he treated Blenheim. As a stage, every wall, column and arch is designed to overwhelm, to turn military triumph into physical form. Even the entrance gates were built high enough for a general to ride through on horseback. This wasn't architecture for comfort, it was architecture for power.
The Great Hall was built to impress and intimidate. It wasn't meant to welcome, it was meant to remind you whose story this was.
At its centre is a vast ceiling painting of the Duke handing his plans to Britannia, a visual rewriting of history. Every guest who entered had to look up and acknowledge it. The marble, the light and the height, all of it designed to make you feel small in the presence of victory. This was 18th century propaganda in its most refined form.
The Duke didn't just want to celebrate victory, he wanted to control how it was remembered. And this is where the story is told.
Across the staterooms hang the Marlborough tapestries, 11 huge panels depicting the Duke's battles. They were woven in Brussels at a cost that could fund small armies. Each one places him at the centre, calm, composed and unstoppable. They're not decoration, they're documentation, propaganda stitched in silk and gold.
At nearly 60 metres long, the Long Library is one of the grandest libraries in England. But it doesn't celebrate knowledge, it celebrates legacy.
At the centre stands a statue of the Duke himself, surrounded by books that tell stories of empire and conquest. Even in a space built for learning, he made sure the focus stayed on him. This was the Marlborough way. Control the narrative, even in silence.
When John Churchill died in 1722, his story didn't end. He'd already built his own monument, the palace. And even his resting place followed the same message.
Inside the chapel, he lies beside his wife Sarah, beneath a marble sculpture of angels, banners and laurels. It isn't a humble tomb, it's a statement of eternal triumph. For the Duke, death wasn't an ending, it was the final act of his victory.
From here the landscape looks natural, but it's a complete illusion. Every tree, every slope and every reflection is shaped by design.
The grounds were redesigned by Capability Brown in the 1760s. He flooded the valley, reshaped the hills, and turned Vanborough's oversized bridge, once ridiculed for crossing a stream, into a masterpiece over the water. The result is effortless perfection, but it's entirely man-made. Power, disguised as nature.
More than a century later, Blenheim gave Britain another Churchill, one who would fight a very different war.
Winston Churchill was born here in 1874, and though he never owned the palace, it shaped him. He often returned, painting the grounds and reflecting on the weight of family history. In his speeches and in his writing, you can still hear Blenheim's influence, pride, purpose and permanence.
Stand here and you'll see Blenheim exactly as it was meant to be seen, dominating its world.
The Grand Bridge, the mirrored lake, the symmetry of the landscape, none of it by accident. It was built so that even nature bowed to the Duke's ambition, and 3 centuries later, it still does.
Standing here, it's hard not to think about what this place really means. Blenheim isn't just a reminder of victory, it's proof of what power can build when it wants to be remembered. 3 centuries later, it still commands the same silence, the same respect, and the same awe it was designed to.
Blenheim doesn't celebrate victory, it embodies it. Every stone was laid to prove a point, and centuries later, that point still stands. It's not humble, it's not subtle, but it was never meant to be. This is how the powerful remembered themselves. If you made it to the end of this video, don't forget to subscribe, because I'll be seeing you again very soon.